Welcome to KT Quick Reviews, where I play a game for about an hour or so and tell you about it. Well, this is a nice little surprise. After 13 years, we finally got a re-release of Red Dead Redemption for the PS4? Okay, that sounds a bit weird. So the biggest reason I'm mainly making this video is to defend this odd decision. No, I'm not defending Rockstar themselves, just the decision to make it a PS4 game and not a PS5 game. Let me quickly go over what happens in the first hour or so of this game so I can actually talk about it and not just the sudden release. Red Dead Redemption originally came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360 back in 2010. It was a massive hit, being the sort of yeehaw successor to GTA. It was a huge open world that allowed you to do essentially whatever you wanted in the fictional western state of New Austin. The game opens with a steamboat docking at the bustling town of Blackwater, three individuals getting off and walking silently to the train station. The worn gentleman sits between two conversations as the ride takes them through a tunnel and into a massive expanse of untamed land. Stepping off in the dusty town of Armadillo, Mr. John Marston makes his way over to the saloon where he encounters a colorful character by the name of Jake. Jake offers to take him to Fort Mercer, the old drunkard, asking as to why he wishes to go during the journey, John not giving many reasons. Finally getting up to the fort, John approaches and calls for Bill Williamson to come out. He eventually appears, the two having an altercation in words. When Bill refuses to back down, John goes for his pistol only to be shot and left for dead on the side of the road outside the fort. As night falls, he's picked up by two strangers, then eventually wakes up in a bed, his wounds bandaged. The door opens, a young woman walking in to check on him. She decides to chide him for his brashness at the fort, then tells him that he should be fine considering the doctor was able to remove the bullet. Though, due to it costing quite a bit, she hints that John will owe her. He understands, then she introduces herself as Miss Bonnie McFarland, the ranch they are currently on, her property. She asks John about Bill, John saying he knew him from a long time ago. Bonnie wonders what he'll do next, John stating he will now go after Bill through other means. She offers that he can go with her so as to help earn back some of the money she cost him, John agreeing. Getting over to Bonnie, she then walks to the horses and the two begin to ride around the ranch. This is just a small introductory section to show all the amenities of the McFarland ranch. Getting back to her home, Bonnie offers to show him inside so he can sit down, his wounds still weighing on him. Some time passes and it's now night, Bonnie asking John to help her take out a few vermin pestering her garden and the chickens. Again, another day passes, Bonnie will ask John how he's doing, John will note that he's been healing well. This is, once again, a section just to familiarize the player with a few things, mainly the horse riding. At the end, she will suggest to John to go ride into Armadillo and pay a visit to the marshal, figuring he might help John with Bill Williamson. You're now given the option to ride into Armadillo yourself and talk to him, or talk to Bonnie again. I chose to talk to Bonnie again since this little quest will take you into town anyway. On the ride to Armadillo, Miss McFarland will once again dig into John about his past and his reasons for being there, John once again being vague. Getting into town, she tells him to go get medication from the doctor's office, then to meet him in front of the general store. This mission, once again, is just the game's way of teaching the player about a few mechanics, mainly the stores, the stagecoaches, and how to drive a wagon in general. Bonnie heads back off to the ranch. John is given the freedom to do as he likes. Going down to the marshal's office, John introduces himself to who he assumes is the marshal, a half-awake buck who's asleep in the cell in front of him. The two talk for a moment, the kid thinking he's one of Bill Williamson's men. The actual marshal then walks in, asking his associate to put his pistol down. He tells his deputy to leave, the kid reluctantly doing so. The marshal asks John why he's there, John saying he wants to take down Williamson. Johnson says he is unable, that his duty is to protect his town and not to get into the affairs of other counties. John chides him, but the marshal is adamant and begins to list off several issues he has himself, noting sarcastically that things might pick up later in the day. Hearing all this, John decides to help, the two heading down to the saloon. As the surly drunkard stumbles out, Johnson says he's going after a man named Walton, a criminal who he's better off having drink at the saloon than to actually cause trouble for the town. They begin to tail him on horseback, Walton having catch on to them. John wonders why they don't just kill him and be done with it, Johnson saying that's not how it works and that he needs to interrogate him to find out where the rest of the gang is. Getting to a shack in the middle of the prairie, they come upon some of the gang, a firefight ensuing. And oh my god, I don't know what happened. So if y'all don't know, I've quite literally put over 1,000 hours into Red Dead 2, 80 plus into the story, and the rest of that into the online. Like, I'm not amazing at the combat, but I manage. But I couldn't even shoot these outlaws without the aim assist or the cover system system freaking out. I'm going to blame myself for this one since it's an older game I've never played, but it made me look like a fool, so I'm a bit embarrassed. Johnson tells you to wound Walton so he can get information out of him, but I just shot him because again, my hands could not game the game. The Marshal thanks John for his help, then rides off. And that's where I pretty much ended my session. This was just a little bit under an hour, but a fairly good introduction to how the game is. I know this game, much like its sequel, has more than enough going on in it, and I wouldn't even be able to cover all of it in a longer video. So back to what I was saying earlier, I've seen a lot of people get upset due to the fact that this game isn't a remaster. Can I also point out that Rockstar announced it like 2 weeks before it was going to drop? I don't even think anyone actually knew, which is pretty amazing. But I'm honestly fine with this just being a port. After the horrendous GTA ones we got a few years ago, I wouldn't want anything like that to happen to this PS3 classic. I'm not in the same boat when it comes to every game needing a remake or a remaster. I'm fine with the only additions to this re-release being that it runs at a locked 30 FPS and is now rendering in 1080p. The original capped it set at 20 due to the limitations of the PS3. Trust me, there are tons of games on that console that have just been forgotten about. If you know my channel, you know a big one. But I get it, the game is 13 years old, we have a fancy engine that RDR2 was made in, but like, it's fine. I don't want a big shiny new version, just give me the game on newer hardware. Better graphics don't always make it better. And I was actually getting ready to buy this game as well as its side game Undead Nightmare on PS3. And yes, I can technically get them cheaper on disc, but the fact that I don't have to and can now play them on not only my PS4 but my PS5, yes, I still use both, I now don't need to worry about dealing with the hazards of physical media. Do I feel that the $50 price point is worth it? Sort of. $25 for each game is a bit steep, but honestly, considering I've spent that much on several games with way less in them, for the kind of open world experience you're going to get, the $25 price point for each installation feels more than fair. Like I said, I'm not defending Rockstar. Their abandonment of Red Dead Online has left a bitter taste, but I don't want to use it as a reason to tell people not to potentially pick out this classic. Oh, and from what I've seen, it looks pretty good on the Switch, so that's a nice bonus. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you like this kind of content or even longer form videos, please be sure to subscribe, and if you want to help me out in other ways, I also have a Patreon. I'll see you all in the next video.